Put simply, Space Marine is a Warhammer nerd's wet dream. This game realises the imagination of a hardcore tabletop gamer, but instead ditches the dice and puts you in control of the captain of the Space Marines. Is this a game that everyone can enjoy though, or does it focus too much on being too true to its source? The gameplay is built primarily around the third-person shooter perspective. You can see that the developers saw the successful formula taken from such games as Gears and tried to adhere to it. That's not to say that it does a bad job. It's a tried and tested formula, and it works great in this scenario. The main strength of Space Marine is empathy. While playing this game, you feel as an 8-foot tall walking battle tank, with enough combat prowess and arsenal to single-handedly stop an invading orc army. You feel like every step you take has impact on your surrounding environment, and you can see and feel the weight of your suit. You jog instead of run, you roll instead of jump. This is not to say that you're sluggish, quite the opposite, it's just that you move with a certain demeanour and bravado. Rubberduck has done an amazing job of making you feel like you are a Space Marine. As far as combat goes, this isn't your usual third-person cover-based shooter. Rubberduck has again realised the most important thing for a Warhammer game. You're a badass. You are the cover. You can stroll into combat wielding nothing more than a bolt pistol and a chainsaw versus 30 plus orcs, and guess who comes out as the victor? The melee combat is extremely satisfying. However, the health system is implemented in a much less innovative way. To regain your health and stamina, you need to fully complete an execution move. This method isn't perfect, and you can lead to some silly situations where you're hopelessly running around in a comical way, something that an authentic Space Marine would never do. The gunplay is seamless. The guns are something to be marvelled at. These things sound and shoot amazingly, giving you a real sense of recoil as the bullets ricochet off armour and walls in your path. For a third-person shooter, this is definitely an achievement. However, I found myself quite often ignoring the Scarface technique and opting for the melee. I felt little need to use them when I could walk into a group of orcs and just throw them in every direction with my power axe or chainsaw. This is slightly improved in the latter part of the game through the appearance of different enemy types, but still they felt like a last choice when the melee attacks weren't working, which is a shame because a lot of the lore surrounding 40k is built on these fabled weapons. The lore of Warhammer is massive, and even after being a fan of the franchise, my knowledge still only consists about 10% of it. The lore is there in the game, but it isn't thrown in your face. It's more reserved for the die-hard fans of the series. Unfortunately, the story is probably the weakest part of Space Marine. You don't feel anything for the characters, and you can see the plot twists and turns coming from a mile away. And when you finally do get to the conclusion, you ask yourself, why? The story isn't long. It took me about 7 to 8 hours to complete on normal, which is pretty average for a linear shooter. I did enjoy the story, but it wasn't going to win any originality awards. The multiplayer segment of the game is a completely different beast, removing some of the more annoying aspects of the single player section. In its simplest state, it's a class-based team shooter, with capture the point or classic team deathmatch games. The classes are separated by the weapons they carry or the abilities assigned to them. The multiplayer is a fun distraction from the single player, and the amount of customization options that are available are very impressive. The whole thing is built on a level-based system, very similar to Call of Duty, where the higher the level, the more unlocks you get for your classes. The multiplayer is a nice addition to the game, but I don't see myself coming back to it very often, after the novelty wears off or until a substantial amount of DLC is released. The aesthetics of Space Marine are probably one of the strongest parts of the game. It incorporates beautiful shades of grey and brown, no sarcasm. They have never looked so good. The character detail in terms of textures are amazing, and the atmosphere and scenery of an old grey city, consisting of destroyed buildings, war bunkers, are very impressive. But the environment can get slightly repetitive after a few hours of gameplay. They've got the grit of a war-torn world perfectly, and you can feel there are battles going on everywhere. The sound design is also very strong, from the blasts of the bolt pistol to the yells and groans of the dying orcs. The voice acting of the main characters are spot on, with the reappearance from Dawn of War and other Warhammer games. However, the voices of the orcs are a little bit harder to digest.
Space Marines! Run, boys!
Space Marine is a very fun and strong single player experience, and I've barely started on the multiplayer. My original question is, can everyone enjoy this game? And I believe so. The gameplay is almost therapeutic, but the story isn't anything new. If you're looking for a new shooter to dig your teeth into, then Space Marine is definitely worth considering. However, you won't find a game you'll be coming back to anytime soon. The multiplayer suffers from the same idiosyncrasies. It is again very fun, but doesn't do anything new. It's a class-based team shooter that never goes more complex than capture the points. In conclusion, Space Marine is a good purchase for fans of third-person shooters or Warhammer fans alike. It never tries to do anything new, and it doesn't build on the existing formula. But hell, it does have jetpacks.